So the advantages of secondary data are secondary data, if available, can be secured quickly and cheaply once their source of documents and reports are located. Collection of data is just a matter of desk work. So even the tediousness of copying the data from the source can now be avoided because of Xeroxing facilities. So you can just take the Xerox and collect the data. You don't need to write each and everything. We should thank for this Xeroxing facilities. The other advantage is wider geographical area and longer reference period may be covered without much cost. Thus, the use of secondary data extends the researcher's space and time uh, reach. The other advantage of secondary data are the use of secondary data broadens the database from which scientific generalization can be made. This is especially so when data from several environmental and cultural settings are required for the study. So the use of secondary data enables the researcher to verify the findings based on primary data. It readily meets the need for additional empirical support also. So the researcher need not await the time when additional primary data can be collected. These are the advantages of secondary data. And the disadvantages or limitations of the secondary data are the most important limitation is the available data may not meet our specific needs. That's one. The definitions adopted by those who collected those data may be different. Units of measure may not match, and time periods may also be different. The other limitation of the secondary data are the available data may not be accurate as desired. To assess their accuracy, we need to know how the data were collected. That's another limitation of the secondary data. And one more is the secondary data are not updated and become obsolete when they appear in print because of time lag in producing them. For example, population census that are published 2 or 3 years later after compilation, and no new figures will be available for another 10 years. So this is another limitation of the population census. Then finally, information about the whereabouts of sources may not be available to all social scientists. Even if the location of the source is known, the accessibility depends primarily on proximity. For example, most of the published, most of the unpublished official records and compilations are located in the capital city, and they are not within the easy reach of researchers based in far off places. These are the disadvantages, limitations of the secondary data. Then, how to evaluate this secondary data is another issue. So, evaluation of secondary data. When a researcher wants to use the secondary data for his research, he should evaluate them before deciding to use them. One is data pertinency, I mean relevancy. Uh, in this case, the first consideration in evaluation is to examine the pertinency of the available secondary data to the research problem under study. Some of the questions should be considered in this case. One is, what are the definitions and classifications employed? Are they consistent with our own? Second one, what are the measurements of variables used? What is the degree to which they conform to the requirements of our research. And third one, what is the coverage of the secondary data in terms of topic and time? Does this coverage fit the needs of our research? So these questions should be considered in case of while evaluating the secondary data. On the basis of these considerations, the pertinency of the secondary data to the research on hand should be determined. As a researcher who is imaginative and flexible may be able to redefine this research problem so as to make use of no, otherwise unusable available data. This is one with regard to data pertinency. Then second one is data quality. Uh, this data quality, if the researcher is convinced that the available secondary data fit his needs, the next step is to examine the quality of the data. The quality of data refers to their accuracy, reliability, and competences. Completeness. Accuracy, reliability, and completeness. So the assurance and the reliability of the available secondary data depends on the organization which collected them and the purpose for which they were collected. What is the authority and the prestige of the organization? Is it well recognized? Is it noted for reliability? Is it capable of collecting reliable data? Does it use trained and well qualified investigators? The answers to these questions determine the degree of confidence we can have in the data and their accuracy. So not that all will collect accurately the data. It all depends upon the capability of the organization that collects this information. Reporting agency also. So it is important to go to the original source of the secondary data rather than to use an immediate source which has quoted from the original. Then only the researcher can review the cautionary and other comments that were made in the original source. So the completeness is the another one. Completeness refers to the actual coverage of the published data. This depends upon the methodology and sampling design adopted by the original organization. Is the methodology sound? Is the sample size small or large? Is the sampling method appropriate? Answers to these questions may indicate the appropriateness and adequacy of the data for the problem under study. Then the question of possible bias should also be examined. Whether the purpose for which the original organization collected the data had a particular orientation. Has the study been made to promote the organization's own interest? How the study was conducted? These are important clues. So if you take the media, now media is divided based on the parties, political parties. Some channels support some party, some other channels support some other party. So they are biased. Whatever the data, the news they read, they give us may not be accurate. So maybe biased. So that is the example for this question of possible bias. The researcher must be on guard when the resource does not report the methodology and sampling design. Then it is not possible to determine the adequacy of the secondary data for the researcher's study. So this is how that secondary data is evaluated. So while evaluating the secondary data before using them for analysis purpose, we should evaluate in all these grounds. And the methods of collecting primary data. So we have seen what is data, meaning of data, and sources of data, and types of sources, or types of data also, primary sources and secondary sources. And we have seen the importance of data also. And use of the secondary data also we have seen, advantages and disadvantages of the secondary data and evaluation of secondary data. So let us now see the methods of collecting primary data. How to collect this primary data? We have seen that through observation, questionnaire, no, the interview, not questionnaire. Observation, interviewing, and no, mailing. These are the ways we collect the primary data. So here, collecting primary data, what methods are available? So generally, if you see that primary data are directly collected by the researcher, not from no, the already published reports or books or any reports published by the departments, government departments or any agency. So first time you are collecting from the source, that is primary data. So primary data are directly collected by the researcher from their original sources. So in this case, the researcher can collect the required data precisely according to his research needs. He can collect them when he wants them and in the form he needs them. But the collection of primary data is costly and time consuming. Yet, for several types of social science research, required data are not available from secondary sources and they have to be directly gathered from the primary sources. So in such cases where the available data are inappropriate, inadequate or obsolete, primary data have to be gathered. They include socio-economic surveys, social anthropological studies of rural communities and tribal communities, sociological studies of social problems and social institutions, marketing research, leadership studies, opinion polls, attitudinal surveys, relationship, radio listening and TV viewing surveys, knowledge awareness practice studies, then farm management studies, business management studies, all these are. So methods of primary data collection. What methods? So methods of primary data collection, there are various methods of data collection of the primary data. And a method is different from a tool. You should remember this. Method is different, tool is different. While a method refers to the way or mode of gathering data. So method is the way or mode of gathering data. Whereas a tool is an instrument used for the method. So an instrument in the sense, for example, questionnaire is a tool, right? So that is questionnaire, whatever we prepare questions, that is a tool. The questionnaire method, when we use that tool for collecting the data, is called questionnaire method, we say that. For example, a schedule is used for interviewing. The important methods are observation, interviewing, mail survey, experimentation, simulation, projective techniques. So these are the important methods of data collection. The methods of primary data collection are observation, interviewing, mail survey, experimentation, simulation, projective technique. These are the methods. So observations involves gathering of data relating to the selected research by viewing and or listening. Interviewing involves face-to-face conversation between the investigator and the respondent. And mailing is used for collecting data by gathering questionnaires completed by respondents. So experimentation involves a study of independent variables under controlled conditions. Then experiments may be conducted in a laboratory or in field in a natural setting. Simulation is another method which involves creation of an artificial situation similar to the actual life situation. Then projective methods, they aim at drawing inferences on the characteristics of respondents by presenting to them stimuli. Even method has its advantages and disadvantages. So the choice of methods and data collection. So if you see that the choice of methods and data collection, which of the above these methods, what we have listed now, of data collection should be selected for a proposed research project. This is one of the questions to be considered while designing the research plan. One or more methods has or have to be chosen. The choice of a method or methods depends upon certain factors, such as the nature of the study of the subject matter, the unit of inquiry, the size and the spread of the sample, scale of the survey, the educational level of respondents, the type and the depth of information to be collected, the availability of skilled and trained manpower, the rate of accuracy and representative nature of the data required. And these are the methods that depends upon the, these are the factors that we, your methods depends upon all these factors. Now take the first one, the factor, the nature of the study of the subject matter. So if it is a study of opinions, preferences of persons, interviewing or mailing may be appropriate, depending on the educational level of the respondents. If a research study is of opinions, preferences of persons, so then which method, interviewing method or mailing method may be appropriate, depending upon the educational levels of the respondents. On the other hand, an impact study may call for experimentation, and a study of behavioral pattern may require observation. See, the study of a behavioral pattern requires observation method, whereas impact study may call for experimentation method. The suitability of method is very important. The other factor is the unit of inquiry. The unit of inquiry may be an individual, household, institution, or community, anything like that, individual, household, institution, or community. That is unit of inquiry. So to collect data from households, interviewing is preferable. Data from institutions may be collected by mail survey, and studies on communities call for observational methods. See, what method is suitable depending upon, if it is an household, this interviewing is preferable. If you want to collect data from institutions, mail survey and mail survey is appropriate. And if you want data on communities, then observation method is suitable. So this is how these factors determine the method of data collection. The other factor is the size and the spread of the sample. Size of the sample and the spread of the sample. So if the sample is small and the area covered is compact, interviewing may be preferable. You can easily reach all these people because all are locating in the same area, compact. So, but a large sample scattered over a wider area may require mailing. So, if samples are scattered in vast area, you cannot go to each and every place and collect. So, mailing is the better method, required method. That is another one. The other factor is scale of the survey. Scale in the sense volume. So a large scale may require mailing or interviewing through trained investigators. So if scale is large, it requires mailing or interviewing through trained investigators. The other factor is the educational level of respondents. So for a simple survey among educated persons concerned with the subject matter of study, a mail survey may be appropriate. But for a survey of less educated, illiterate persons like industrial workers, slum dwellers, rural people, interviewing is the only suitable method. So if they are educated, they can answer your questions. So you can mail the questions and get the answers from it. If they are not educated, less educated or no illiterates, you can directly go and ask them. They will respond. This interviewing method is suitable for uneducated people. Mailing method is suitable for educated people. The other factor is the type and depth of information to be collected. So for collection of general, simple, factual and non-economic emotional data, interviewing or mailing is appropriate. For an in-depth survey of personal experiences and sensitive issues, in-depth interview is essential. For collection of data on behavior, culture, customs, lifestyle, etc., observation method is required. See, which method to use for what purpose? That's very important. Then the other factor is the availability of skilled and trained manpower. So in this case, even for a large general survey entailing many complicated questions, interviewing can be adopted. Then the other factor is the rate of accuracy and representative nature of the data required. So here interviewing is the most appropriate method for collecting accurate data from a representative sample of population. So interviewing can achieve a higher response rate. If you go and ask, definitely they will respond. If you send a questionnaire, mail, people may not answer that. So these are the factors that determine the method of data collection. So a researcher can select one or more of the methods keeping in view the above all these factors. So no method is universal. Each method's unique features should be compared with the needs and conditions of the study, and thus the choice of the method should be decided. That's about the choice of methods of data collection. Then evaluation of data collection methods. So here we are evaluating data collection methods itself. See the appropriateness, whether a particular method is appropriate for collecting data is not, we need to evaluate. So the appropriateness of a method of data collection may be evaluated on the basis of some criteria, like the efficiency, that is the speed and cost of data collection, data quality and adequacy, that is the response rate, accuracy and objectivity, and naturalness of setting, anonymity, then interviewer supervision, control of context and question order, ability to use visual aids, then potential for controlling variables, and dependence on respondents' reading and writing ability. So this is how the evaluation of data collection method happens. Then observation. So methods, this is one of the method, observation method to collect the data. So this observation method is used for collecting the primary data. So what is that observation method? Why it is so important? Let us see that. So observation means viewing, nodadu, or seeing. So we go on observing something or other while we are awake. So most of such observations are just casual and have no specific purpose. But observation in a method of data collection is different from such casual viewing. Observation may be defined as a systematic viewing of a specific phenomenon in its proper setting for the specific purpose of gathering data for a particular study. Observation as a method includes both the seeing or and hearing. It is accompanied by perceiving as well. So observation is a classical method of scientific inquiry. The body of knowledge of various natural and physical sciences such as biology, physiology, astronomy, plant ecology, etc. has been built upon centuries of systematic observation. So observation also plays a major role in formulating and testing hypotheses in social sciences. Behavioral scientists observe interactions in small groups. Anthropologists observe simple societies and small communities. Political scientists observe the behavior of political leaders and political institutions. In a sense, as the Webbs have pointed out, this Webb is an author, is a social scientist, is a researcher. So all social research begins and ends with observation. A researcher silently watching a city council or a trade union committee or quality circle or a departmental meeting or a conference of politicians or others picks up hints that help him to formulate new hypotheses. He can test them through further observation and study. The observation becomes scientific when it serves a formulated research purpose, when it is planned deliberately, when it is recorded systematically, and when it is subjected to checks and controls on validity and reliability. So validity refers to the extent to which the recorded observations accuracy reflect the construct they are intended to measure. Validity is assessed by examining how well the observations agree the alternative measures of the same construct. So reliability is different. It entails consistency and freedom from measurement error. So this is usually assessed in terms of the extent to which the two or more independent observers agree in their ratings of the same event, and the reliability, repeatability of observations over time by means of test, retest, test to retest comparisons. So these are meaning and importance of this observation. The open questions are there, describe how you feel. Open questions are descriptive. So characteristics of observation. Has certain, this observation as a method of data collection has certain characteristics. One is it is both physical and mental activity. The observing eye catches many things which are slighted, but attention is focused on data that are pertinent to the given study. So observation is selective. So a researcher does not observe anything and everything, but selects the range of things to be observed on the basis of the nature, scope, objectives of his study. For example, suppose a researcher desires to study the causes of city road accidents and has formulated a tentative hypothesis that accidents are caused by violation of traffic rules and overspeeding. When he observes the movements of vehicles on the road, many things are before his eyes. The type, make, size, and color of the vehicle, the person sitting in them, their hairstyle, etc. All such things which are not relevant to his study are ignored, and only overspeeding and traffic violations are keenly observed by him. See, the third characteristic is observation is purposive and not uh, casual. It is made for the specific purpose of noting things relevant to the study. So another characteristic is it captures the natural social context in which person's behavior occurs. Another one is it also grasps the significant events and occurrences that affect social relations of the participants. So observation should be exact and be based on standard tools of research such as observation schedule, social metric scale, etc., and precision instruments, if any. So these are the characteristics of observation method. So so rest of the things we'll see in the next class. Wait for a moment. I'll take the attendance.